Thank you. Good evening. Welcome to everyone to this ordinary meeting of the Council. This meeting is being broadcast via Council's website, and I wish everyone who is viewing a very good evening, and I hope you are all doing well. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we are meeting tonight, the lands to where tonight's broadcast reaches. We also pay our respects to their elders and to the elders from other communities who may be joining us this evening. Well, just because we're doing this via Zoom and with all modern technology, we do have a few housekeeping rules to go through so that everyone has a pleasurable viewing experience, I would hope. Tonight, as I said, we're holding this as a virtual meeting. Throughout the meeting, councillors must be able to see and be seen, to be heard as well. To ensure we are meeting these guidelines, we will commence with a roll call of councillors to establish they are fully connected. I'll start with Lower Avoca Ward. Councillor David Pollard.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I can see everyone and I can hear everyone.
Thank you. Councillor Carolyn Stewart. You're on mute.
Sorry, it wouldn't unmute then. Yes, I can see and hear everyone.
Thank you, Councillor Stewart. Melly Ward, Councillor Alan Getley.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I can see and hear everybody.
Thank you. The Deputy Mayor, Councillor David Viss.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I can hear and see everybody.
And to my fellow Mount Jeffcott Ward councillors, Councillor Graham Milne.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I can see and hear everybody.
And Councillor Bronwyn Simpson.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I can see and hear everybody.
Thank you. All present and correct. If a conflict of interest is declared tonight, the councillors who have the conflict will be removed from the meeting completely for that item and be reinstated after that item has been dealt with before the meeting can proceed. Councillors will vote by showing their hands, making sure their raised hand is within shot. Waving frantically is acceptable, so I can see you. If any councillor loses connectivity during the meeting will be suspended until connection is restored for all councillors. And I think we may have a few like that tonight if the warm-up's anything to go by. For the purposes of our audience tonight, we have 5 matters that will be closed to the public for council to consider confidential matters. At 8.6.1, the Audit and Risk Committee meeting minutes of the 2nd of December 2020. 8.6.2, Contract C80 2020 to 2021, the supply and delivery of one new tipping truck and quad dog trailer. 8.6.3, Contract C81 2020-2021, supply and delivery of one new motor grader. 8.64, Contract C91 2020-21, roads to rehabilitation 2020-21 of pavement rehabilitation works, and Contract 8.65, Contract C88 2020 to 2021, Donald Urban Road Rehabilitation, Industry Drive and Tower Road, Donald. If council's broadcast of the council meeting experiences technical difficulties and drops out, the meeting will be adjourned for 30 minutes to re-establish connection. I take it, councillors, we're all clear with that and understand the procedure for this evening. Yep. Thank you. Now, grappling with the technology straight away. Look at the rest of the agenda so we can get underway. Are there any apologies for this evening's meeting? Thank you, councillors. Confirmation of the minutes of the previous meeting. I have a recommendation that council adopt the minutes of the ordinary meeting held on Wednesday, the 9th of December 2020. Do I have someone to move and second that one? Councillor Pollard, thank you very much. Councillor Viss, thank you very much. Anyone against? All in favour? Carried. Thank you. Are there any requests for leave of absence? Thank you, councillors. None. At this point, are there any declarations of pecuniary and conflicts of interests?
Not at this stage, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, councillors. At point 6, are there any questions from the public? Well, we do not have any that are noted at this stage. Moving along to procedural items at point 7. Letters of congratulations and recognition of achievement awards. There's a recommendation that council acknowledge and congratulate the persons and or groups mentioned in the report for their achievements. Before we move into that, councillors, are there any further letters and letters of congratulations that we should be including at this particular part of the proceedings? Councillor Pollard, thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I would like to include Dr. Kirby White, a Victorian local hero, for a letter of congratulations on achieving this award.
Thank you, Councillor Pollard. Do you need to elaborate on that in any way? So, I know there was an email circulated, but maybe people didn't get it.
I'd just like to congratulate Kirby because she was a GP and she ordered some gowns and couldn't get any, so she developed a gown that could be laundered and reused, allowing her to keep seeing patients. And this is when Gowns for Doctors was born. She then set up a GoFundMe page and raised over $40,000. This initiative helped engage local volunteers and industries to manufacture the gowns. There are now over 5,200 gowns that have gone out to over 750 clinics across rural and regional Victoria. And I think that's an outstanding effort for a practicing GP in the background.
Look, that, Councillor Pollard, that certainly is worthy of recognition by this council. Any other letters that we should be, or people we should be recognising? I mean, there's a what would you say, almost a Melbourne Cup field in there today, but I mean, they're all very worthy. And I mean, when we see our school kids and other people that have been recognised in Australia Day Awards, it's very good. Any others what you should be recognising at this stage? No? We have a recommendation that council acknowledge and congratulate the person and or groups mentioned in the report for their achievements. Do I have somebody to move that? Councillor Pollard, thank you. Councillor Gedley, second, thank you. Anyone against? Thank you, councillors. That's carried. Thank you. Moving to 7.2, the report of Assembly of Councillors meetings. We have a record that the council note the report of Assembly of Councillor meetings held on the 3rd, 9th and 16th of December. I take it they're noted. Do we have a councillor to move that particular recommendation? Councillor Viss, thank you very much. Second that. Councillor Simpson, thank you very much. Any against? No, thank you, councillors. That is carried. Correspondence initiated by council. Council notes the record of correspondence initiated by council and the responses received. Do we have any updates, staff, on those matters at this stage? Nothing to report, thank you. So I'll put that there. Does someone like to move that particular item? Councillor Gedley, thank you. Councillor Simpson to second. No, anyone against? No. Thank you. Carried, councillors. 7.4, building permits monthly update. We have a report there, which will be introduced by Works and Technical Services.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. If through you, I'll take this one. So just a monthly report of building surveyors approved by council surveying or private building surveyors.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. Any questions on that report, councillors, at this stage? Councillor Viss?
Just checking there on the report, the application that's approved for something in Wilkinson Street in Sea Lake, is that a new dwelling?
Through the Mayor, will provide further details. My understanding, based on the short description, is that it is. But can I come back to you with further information?
Thank you, Mr. Judd. Any other queries, councillors? Could I then ask that someone move those particular report, please? And second, Councillor Milne, thank you for moving that. We'll have a second. Councillor Stewart, thank you very much. Anybody against? Nobody against? Carried, thank you. 7.5, planning applications received monthly update. Again, Mr. Judd, I take it you'll handle this one?
Yeah, just a procedural report, Mr. Mayor. The monthly update of permits received, with many being issued, which is positive.
Okay, thank you, sir. Any questions, councillors? No questions, thank you. So we have a recommendation the council note information contained in the report on planning applications under consideration by the staff and the status of each of these applications. Do I have a councillor to move this recommendation? Councillor Viss, thank you. Councillor Pollard to second, thank you very much. Anybody against? I'll consider that carried. Thank you, councillors. Section 8, general business. 8.1, policy reports. 8.11, councillor code of conduct. Councillors, we have a recommendation that a councillor having undertaken review of the councillor code of conduct adopt the revised code. Are you introducing this, Mr. Judd?
Happy to, Mr. Mayor. So as part of the Act, council need to have an adopted code of conduct for councillors within 4 months of the election, which I think is the 24th of this month. So staff have worked through and consulted with council in the development of this. Importantly, it integrates the standards of conduct which you all took the oath of at your swearing in. Councillors, this can be amended into the future. So this is something that we can revisit if in time you look to revisit your values and different matters. We bring this to you for your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Judd. Councillors, any questions at this particular point? No, thank you. Okay, councillors, we have a recommendation that council, having undertaken review of the councillor code of conduct, adopt the revised code. Do I have a councillor to move that recommendation, please? Councillor Viss, thank you. A seconder? Councillor Pollard, thank you very much. Are there any councillors opposed? That matter is carried. Thank you, councillors. Flipping through. (8.12) Rates and charges financial hardship policy. We have a recommendation that council adopts the rates and charges financial hardship policy from February 2021 to February 2025. Mr. Judd, I take it you'll take this one, sir?
Yeah, thank you again, Mr. Mayor. So our rates and charges financial hardship policy provides for the deferring of the payment of rates and charges and the granting of wavering interest, certainly on rates and charges. We have undertaken a review of our policy which was adopted in 2017, which is coming up for expiry, so it was due for renewal. No major changes to the way that policy is going to be implemented for the coming 4 years. So, Council, this is being presented with minor changes to the way that we have been operating. It is worth noting, Councillors, that the Victorian Ombudsman is doing a piece of work looking at hardship policies and the way that councils across the state are treating financial hardship in terms of rates across the state. And it's likely that, and without preempting those outcomes, there's often recommendations that will go to the sector. So it may be that this report and this policy does get considered again much sooner than the 4-year period that often policies do come back.
Thank you, Mr. Judd. Councillors, do we have any questions at this stage? No, thank you. We have a recommendation that Council adopts the rates and charges financial hardship policy from February 2021 to February 2025. Do I have a councillor to move that recommendation? Councillor Getley, thank you, and Councillor Viz to second. Are there any councillors opposed? Thank you, councillors. That is carried. Thank you. (8.1.3) the Community Engagement Policy. This is a fairly significant piece of work. We have a recommendation that Council adopts the Community Engagement Policy. Mr. Judd, who's leading us through this at this stage?
Mr. Fitzgibbon will introduce this report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. CEO, and thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillors, tonight we bring you the Community Engagement Policy for adoption. The Local Government Act 2020 has reformed community engagement on plans, policies and decision-making. The new legislation requires Council to develop and maintain a community engagement policy. This is a major change for matters such as our council plan, community vision and annual budget. The draft community engagement policy was adopted by Council in November of 2020 for the purpose of community consultation, and Council then consulted with the community in the development of the draft policy, and this the final policy with a survey on Council's engagement platform, Our Say. The online platform was used, of course, due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The results from the surveys and other consultations were considered in the preparation of this document. Council also collaborated with local governments around the state and the state government agencies such as Aboriginals Victoria in the preparation of the policy. Councillors, tonight we bring you the Community Engagement Policy for adoption.
Thank you, Mr. Fitzgibbon. That was very succinct and to the point. Councillors, are there any questions of Mr. Fitzgibbon?
Just a comment through the chair, if I may, Mr. Mayor. I think this is a very important document. I reckon that we as a councillor have been doing our engagement for a while already, but I think that this now coming under the Local Government Act, enforcing this in the new 2020 Act, will just make us seen as more transparent to our current ratepayers. But it's something that I think that we have been doing fairly well for the past number of years anyway.
Thank you, Councillor Viz. Councillor Milne.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Support Councillor Viz's comments there, and just hope that our community get behind this opportunity that's always there for them, but haven't highlighted it through this consultation program period. That they take it up, because it's a great way on anything that we take to the public or to our people that for them to get involved and have their say and formulate and shape what we do. So it's a great document that gives the ratepayer that opportunity, and I hope that they take it up wholeheartedly, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Milne. Councillor Getley.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Fitzgibbon, could you elaborate on the amount of consultation we had by the public during the period, please?
Sure, Councillor Getley, through the Mayor. We had around 55 applications to our survey when we went out for the draft policy through September and October. We also undertook some engagement with the state government agencies and surrounding local governments at that time as well. The consultation wasn't as successful when we went out between the draft and this final policy, Councillor Getley, again, using our say, the uptake wasn't as large as it was the first time, but overall we reached somewhere between 70 and 80 of our community that got involved in the preparation of the document.
Thank you. Councillors, any other questions at this stage? Thank you. Look, before I put this to this recommendation, just a point to congratulate the staff. I mean, we've under a pretty tight rein here to get these things through, and it's great to see. I think we'd say we can tick this one off the box of those things that we have to achieve under the new Local Government Act. So congratulations to the staff on a job well done. So we do have a recommendation that Council adopts the community engagement policy. Do I have someone to move that recommendation? Councillor Viss, thank you to move. Councillor Simpson to second. Any councillors opposed? No. Thank you, councillors. That's carried. Thank you very much, and well done, staff. Flicking through, there's a lot of flicking here going on. Just bear with me for a moment. We'll get there. 8.2, management reports. Another piece of work that we have to look at. The review of councillor and mayoral allowances. These are the policies very close to everyone's heart here. We have here a recommendation. The council, having undertaken a review of allowances for the mayor and councillors, given notice of the review of under section 223 of the Local Government Act 1989, and having received no submissions, set the annual allowances for councillors and the mayor for the next 4 years as follows. Councillors, $21,049, the mayor, $62,884, with the intention to adjust the above allowances in accordance with any adjustment factor determined by the Minister until such time as the Victorian Independent Remuneration Tribunal has made a determination under the Local Government Act of 2020. There's a recommendation. Now, I've read the recommendation. Mr. Judd, is anyone to speak to this or to further introduce this?
Mr. Mayor, I don't really believe that there's much more to add, except it's mainly contained in the recommendation. Obviously, we've been out to the community, no submissions, so brought to council for their decision.
Thank you, Mr. Judd. Any discussion, councillors, at this stage? Thank you, councillor. So I will put that recommendation, as I've just read. Do I have a councillor to formally move that?
Yep.
Councillor Milne, thank you to move. Seconder, Councillor Pollard. Thank you. Any councillor against? That recommendation is carried. Thank you. 8.2.2, Governance Rules 2021. It's all about us tonight, isn't it? You know, it's a piece of work, so to speak. We have a recommendation that council adopt the Governance Rules of 2021. Mr. Judge.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, another requirement under the Local Government Act. Council did in fact adopt by the deadline in September. So the council or the governance rules were adopted in September. One of the things that we, upon reflection, needed to add was the requirement for the mayor to request the CEO to call a special meeting. This has been used in the past by the Buloke Shire Council, certainly past iterations of the Buloke Shire Council, particularly around time-sensitive contracts or other matters that really need to be dealt with outside of the council meeting monthly cycle. Councillors, we did again some consultation on this, no submissions on the very, very minor change that will just free up our ability to call meetings in a shorter time frame, which is required from time to time. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Judd. So we have a recommendation. Any questions? Sorry, councillors. Are there any questions at this stage? No, thank you. So I have a recommendation the council adopt the Governance Rules 2021. Do I have a councillor to move that recommendation? No, Councillor Getley, you snuck that hand in there very quick. And I'll take it. Councillor Pollard was very close. So I'll take it to Councillor Pollard. I second that motion. Any councillors against the motion? Thank you, councillors. That is carried. Now, a bit of flicking going on again. I think we need to develop an app that we swipe left and swipe right, but let me see. I think we're getting close. 8.2.3, exercise of delegation by the Chief Executive Officer. Would you like to introduce this, Mr. Chief Executive Officer?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The delegation you provide to the CEO is that any contracts that are awarded between $150,000 and $250,000 are brought to the next council meeting for the councillors to note. So, councillors, this is just for you to note that a contract has been awarded for the Birchip Leisure Centre change room redevelopment to JD Aspen Developments for a lump sum price of $199,000 and $199,052, excluding GST. Councillors have been briefed on this project pre-Christmas. So this is part of a funding commitment we've had through Sport and Rec Victoria. So a good result. Pressure is on to get it done by the first round or the first home game for the Birchip Watcham Football Netball Hockey Club. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Judd. Any councillors, any questions? Thank you. Well, the recommendation, the councillor note the information provided in this report. Councillors, do I have someone to make this recommendation, move this? Councillor Stewart, good to hear from you. Thank you. Councillor Milne to second. Fantastic. Anyone against? Carried. Thank you. 8.2.4, the Buloke Shire Council 2017-21 Year 4 Annual Progress Report. I'm in your hands, Mr. Judge.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So again, this is the quarterly report. This will be familiar to the councillors that keeps track of our ability or of our progress against the annual plan, which is obviously derived from the council plan. There's been some good work happening. There's plenty of work to be happen, as you can see from the report, which has a number of items in progress. So staff are working away. We'll just highlight some of the issue, the work by directorate. I think from corporate / community engagement, the community engagement policy and the progression of the ITC strategy has been really positive. It works, the obvious highlight being the Lake Tyrrell infrastructure opening and having tourists visit there, and obviously the progression at the Birchip streetscape. And we've commenced our climate change from a community development point of view, climate change strategy, and there'll be community engagement and councillor workshops happening really soon on this, and also some of the work around the state of the Buloke Children's Report, which we hope will feed into further funding and great outcomes for our children going forward. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillors, any questions at this particular point of time? Councillor Viss.
Just through the chair, it is disappointing to note, sorry, I've got to toggle between here, so this can take some time, that there's been no commencement yet on the development of the Gender Equality Action Plan. Just a comment to say that that's a bit disappointing that has been held off for so long. I think it's a very important thing. And I think that moving forward, this needs to be prioritised once we get for more information from the state.
Mr. Mayor, can I just ask for clarification on what point Councillor Viz was referring to? It just hiccuped in the right at the wrong time, and I missed what point he was talking about.
Councillor Viz, can you
hear me now, Councillor Milne?
Thank you.
Yeah, it was just voicing disappointment that we haven't commenced or haven't been able to commence the develop a gender equality action plan.
Thank you.
Because that's been delayed. I think that's because of the state. I don't think that's anything to do with us, but yeah, just disappointed as a comment to see that hadn't been actioned yet.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Councillor Viz, through the Mayor.
I think the mayor might have just lost connectivity, councillors and viewers, so we'll just pause whilst he regains connection.
He's off trying to finish that Mayoral tea that he had displayed before.
Mr. Judd, has someone tried to contact the mayor just to see if he's having problems?
Yeah, he knows. He's just trying to get back in.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Viz. Hello,
Good
Mr.
evening.
Mayor.
Yes. Yes, if we say the best plans of mice and men. I apologise for that. Obviously, the technology in the mouse wasn't pedaling hard enough in Donald, but hopefully, now, I suppose the question is, where do we restart the match from, so to speak?
Mr. Mayor, there's been questions on the Year 4 annual plan. I'm not sure if there's been a mover or seconder yet.
I think the last piece of discussion was between Councillor Milne and Councillor Viz for clarification. Councillors, you've got that clarification in terms of the was it the gender equity plan? Was it? I take it. Yeah, I'll find my spot in the agenda. Right. Yeah. So, were there any more questions, councillors? Thank you. So we have a recommendation that council note the progress made to deliver the strategic objectives noted in the adopted annual 4-year plan for the Buloke Shire 2017-2021. Do I have a councillor to move that recommendation? Councillor Stewart, thank you. Councillor Milne, thank you. Any councillor opposed? No, thank you, councillors. That is carried. Thank you. (8.25.5) the Witchy-proof turntable lease. Mr. CEO, would you like to lead us through this, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is another report that is coming back to Council after public consultation. We had been approached by Steam Rail Victoria to lease the turntable at Witchy-proof, which isn't currently operable. It would enhance their ability to run tourism trains more efficiently, and therefore they have made that application. There was one submission, and that submission highlighted two key needs, and for council to consider two key elements, that the turntable and approach track be made available to other trains, and that's other tourism trains and other trains that may want to use the track, and that we advocate to state government that any standardisation includes the approach track and the turntable as well. The submission wasn't necessarily an objection, but highlighting that they would like to see those two elements factored in. Mr. Mayor, councillors, I believe that the resolution that we have and discussions that we've had during this process with both Steam Rail and the submitter will allow for both parties to be happy. And so therefore the recommendation is that we authorise the CEO to negotiate a lease with Steam Rail Victoria, that it's at a peppercorn rate, that access is made available to other users, and that it's a 10-year lease. And also that Steam Rail Victoria are responsible for any upgrade works. It's not currently featured in council's budget. Council may consider going for funding in the future, and whether that funding is available, but it's not considered in the long-term financial plan at the moment. Councillors, we bring this to you for your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Judd. Councillors, any questions at this stage?
Just a comment through the chair, if I may. I think this is fabulous news. I think it's great news for tourism, and great news, that it will also help support our local businesses with the growth of tourism, as we know that is a big feature in current budgets. Just think it's great news. Well done.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Simpson.
Through the Mayor, my hope is that the discussions for the lease can include some sort of negotiation that, although the lease will state that other organisations are going to be able to use the turntable, I'm hoping that the cost to these organisations is not going to make that use prohibitive, as we know that the steam trains which travel into this area are a huge tourist attraction.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If you're interested in my response, I certainly had those discussions with both. We didn't necessarily nail a cost, and we're waiting on council resolution to go forth and have those negotiations. But absolutely, Councillor Simpson, the fee that is may be set by Steam Rail needs not to be prohibitive to users, because the potential for both Steam Rail and other tourism operators particularly is quite huge, and therefore the benefits and economic and tourism benefits for our council and our communities are really substantial too. So noted.
Thanks, Mr. Judd. Councillor Milne. Mute. Councillor Milne, you're still on mute.
It's come off now.
Yeah, we got you.
It's still showing the little red button on my thing. But anyway, thank you. Through the Mayor, this is as others have said, an exciting opportunity for us to promote another part of the tourism arm. It is disappointing that that's this stage, or the stage of the Murray Basin Rail project is not proceeding like, hadn't proceeded like it was supposed to, and may well go ahead now. But it's great that somebody has picked up this little installation that we have there with the enthusiasm to restore it, bring it into working order, and bring tourist trains back to continue to bring tourist trains to our area. Representing Buloke Tourism and Wimramelli Tourism, I know that this is seen as a great opportunity to promote towns up and down the rail line, and beyond, of course, to better our opportunities. And I think this is a great opportunity for council to get the negotiation right and have it work for everybody that's interested in that piece of infrastructure. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Milne. Councillors, any other discussion or? Okay, having had some discussion, I'll put the recommendation. The council, having undertaken a community consultation process and considered the submission, authorise the CEO to negotiate a lease or licence with SteamRail Victoria with the following conditions clauses. SteamRail Victoria provides access to other tourism and rail providers during the term of the lease. SteamRail Victoria be responsible for undertaking the required works and maintenance to ensure the turntable is operable. A nominal or peppercorn rental given the investment SteamRail will need to make to ensure the turntable is operable, and a 10-year lease. Do I have someone to move that particular motion? Councillor Pollard, thank you. Seconder was Councillor Stewart. Must say it was just a whisker, but there we have it. Anyone against that motion? Councillor, that's a great motion to pass as we have tonight, and I think as a discussion from a tourism perspective, it can only be onwards and upwards from here. 8.2.6, Building Better Regions Fund Applications. Mr. CEO.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Following the tourism theme, Building Better Regions, the federal government grant fund is open. There is certainly a tourism slant or a tourism theme to their funding. Council, in identifying some of our project pipeline, have identified really two key opportunities. One is around cabin accommodation at a range of our caravan parks and lake facilities, and we're working to develop that up at the moment. This project will help with obviously tourism, but a whole bunch of other accommodation needs. We believe, there is that need for seasonal accommodation, and so we're engaging with our caravan parks currently on that. We've done the first tour late last week. And the second project being the implementation of the master plan of the Witchy-Proof sale yards for ramps and upgrades to pens and roof over certain parts of the sale yards. So, Council, it's recommended that we submit those applications and also that we consider matching funding for both of those. So it'll be two separate funding applications in the development of the 21-22 budget, that being $150,000 for the cabin accommodation and $160,000 towards the sale yards master plan implementation. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. Councillors, any questions, comments, please? Councillor Milne.
Just a comment through you, Mr. Mayor, that once again, it's good to have the opportunity to apply for these funds to better our circumstances, and certainly our lakes and caravan parks, I think will be very well used in the next 12 months onwards, and certainly our sale yards is a great generator of activity for our for Witchy-Proof and our Shire, and further beyond, with its the continuation of its monthly store sale. So they're a great opportunity and great projects. Be nice to win these and get them on the go. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Milne. Any other councillors? The councillors, we have a recommendation. The council, 1, submit funding applications under the Building Better Regions Fund for new cabins at the Charlton Travellers Rest, Donald and Witchy-Proof Caravan Parks, and Chum, Wurranook and Watcham Lake Caravan Parks, and for upgrades to the Witchy-Proof sale yards. And 2, considers a co-contribution from the 21-22 budget for the allocations of $150,000 for the new cabins and $160,000 towards the sale yards upgrade. Do I have a councillor to move those recommendations, please? Councillor Milne, thank you. Seconder? Councillor Pollard. I think there's a bit of a competition. That's carried, and I don't know. I haven't got my button on mute, but thank you, Councillor Pollard. And that is carried, and I think great projects to look forward to in the future. Now we come to the future. 8.3, the financial reports. Financial performance report as at the 31st of December 2020. I take it Mr. Judd will be introducing this.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is the monthly financial report, which has been upgraded to include some of our forecasts and as part of the mid-year forecast, and you'll see that in the statements. The forecasted end-year surplus is down, and as was explained at Audit Committee today, that is to do with the delay of capital grant income. So that will be shifted out into the next financial year. It's noted that the expenditure is likely to be shifted out too. So from a cash position, it doesn't necessarily change our position, but obviously the reported surplus on the income statement will be impacted. Councillor just spoke about the cash situation, which is quite healthy, with $19.2 million in the bank as at 31 December, and with a bulk of rates coming in February. That's a healthy position. We do have a majority of our capital program to spend in this last 6 months of the financial year. So yes, councillors, I bring this the financial report to you.
Thank you, Mr. Judd. Councillors, over to you. Any questions? I looked at the training's come in a treat. I can see you've taken that training in. You understand the cash flow and the surpluses and the ups and downs. Councillor Milne's thought about it. He's going to say, Councillor Milne.
Mr. Mayor, just to comment that what a wonderful place it is 5 years down the track.
I think that's a point well made, and no doubt everyone's happy about that situation. As council staff say, we're living the dream. Councillors, we have a recommendation the council receives the financial performance report for the month ending 31st of December 2020. Do I have a councillor to move that report, please? Councillor Viss, thank you. Councillor Getley, second. Any councillors opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Organisational reports. There are nil, I take it. 8.5, reports from councillors. Councillors, I'll start at my left, so it would be Councillor Milne. Do you have a report, Councillor Milne?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There certainly has been a number of things start up again in the last month or two that has required some input from us as councillors, and it's been good to watch some progress back going again after nearly 12 months with no meetings. I also was an apology last night, not getting home from Melbourne till 5:30 this morning in a beat up old truck. But yeah, two good meetings that have now set the scene for future works to continue in Watcham. Certainly the Wimmera Valley Regional Tourism Board has had a couple of meetings and get-togethers to sort out where we're going and what we're doing with recommendations from the solo gap analysis type stuff that was done, and certainly working forward on some of those. So, and there's been a couple of other organisational things and bits and pieces that I've attended, but not been able to get into my calendar without leaving this screen. I don't have it in front of me, I'm sorry. So I can report further on that for the report later on. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Milne. Councillor Pollard. There we are. Mute.
I'll just table my report. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Pollard. Councillor Getley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just pre-Christmas, I attended the groundbreaking with Mr. Judd at the Charlton Harness Racing training facility for the new facility to be built there. At the same day, I also attended the Charlton College Awards by WebEx, and then followed with the Charlton Forum meeting and their Christmas function as an invited guest. Obviously, Australia Day, I attended Calgoa breakfast and the very Willie ceremony, which Ellen White spoke very well at. Advanced Sea Lake meeting, Tyrrell College Awards, another World Progress Association, and I've done a meeting and a half of the Wimmera Southern Valley Transport Group to date. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Getley. Councillor Viss.
Nothing much to report really, Mr. Mayor, except for Australia Day, which for the first time since coming onto council 4 and a bit years ago, I actually had in Sea Lake. And it was fantastic to see the turnout there. Ali Kappa was there for a brief time, and it was fantastic to see such a big crowd, although it was a fairly sad Australia Day Awards because there were some posthumous awards. But it was great to see the crowd turn out in Sea Lake.
Thank you, Councillor Viss. Councillor Stewart.
I have nothing to report at this stage, thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Stewart. Councillor Simpson.
The highlight of my month was the Australia Day Awards, and I will say that the community of Nandali made me very welcome, and they are an amazing town or an amazing community. I'm not sure which way they see themselves, but yes, that's the highlight of my month.
Thanks, Councillor Simpson. Look, I'll table my report later, but just 2 things I wanted to comment on was, and also to congratulate all the councillors that were involved in the Australia Day Eve presentation at Nullarbor, but also on Australia Day, where all the councillors got around and we made sure that all our towns were covered. And I think that was a fantastic effort, that there was a representation right across the Shire. On another note, whilst it isn't a council-related matter, I was fortunate enough to be one of the people that got into the Rex Theatre last night for a showing of The Dry, and I would like to extend congratulations, and not like one can't do it in a formal sense, but to acknowledge the effort that has been undertaken by the Committee of the Rex after an incredibly difficult 12 months due to COVID, to get the theatre up and running, and then to have the community turn out in literally droves to support the theatre, and I'm sure putting a smile on the Treasurer's dial so that the bills can get paid. But look, it was absolutely uplifting to see queues down the high street, and I'm sure those that haven't had a chance, they've got another great movie coming up, The Rams, shortly. So it's always good for the community to get behind and support the Rex, because I think after 12 months absence, I think the people are looking forward to that. So well done to the Rex crew there. It's great to see it back operating again. Let's hope that there's no hiccups going forward. So look, thank you, councillors, for your reports. It's always good insight to see what the community is doing. 8.6, we're moving into matters which may exclude the public. I have a recommendation that pursuant to section 66(1) and 2A of the Local Government Act 2020, the meeting be closed to the public to consider the following reports that are considered to contain confidential information on the grounds provided in section 3(1) of the Local Government Act 2020 as indicated. 8.61, Audit and Risk Committee meeting minutes, 2nd December 2020. Private and commercial information being information provided by a business, commercial or financial undertaking that, if released, would unreasonably expose the business, commercial or financial undertaking to a disadvantage. 8.62, Contract C80 2020-21, supply and delivery of 1 new tipping truck and quad dog trailer. Again, private and commercial information being information provided by a business, commercial or financial undertaking that, if released, would unreasonably expose the business, commercial or financial undertaking to disadvantage. 8.63, Contract C81 2021, supply and delivery of one new motor grader. Again, private commercial information being information provided by a business, commercial or financial undertaking that, if released, would unreasonably expose the business, commercial or financial undertaking to disadvantage. 8.64, Contract C91 2021, Roads to Rehabilitation 2021, pavement rehabilitation works. Again, private commercial information being information provided by a business, commercial or financial undertaking that, if released, would unreasonably expose the business, commercial or financial undertaking to a disadvantage. 8.65, Contract C88 2021, Donald Urban Road Rehabilitation, Industry Drive and Tower Road, Donald. Private and commercial information being information provided by a business, commercial or financial undertaking that, if released, would unreasonably expose the business, commercial or financial undertaking to disadvantage. Councillors, the recommendation, do I have someone to move that we close the meeting to the public? Councillor Pollard, thank you. Someone a second? Councillor Simpling, thank you. Are there any dissenting? Carried. We will now close the meeting to the public and consider these confidential reports. All right. Yeah. No.
You're good to go, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Fitzgibbon. Councillors, welcome back into open meeting. We have a recommendation that council reopens the meeting to the public pursuant to section 66(1) and 2A of the Local Government Act of 2020. We have a councillor to move that recommendation, please. Councillor Viss, thank you. Councillor Pollard to second. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you, councillors. Section 9, other business. 9.1, notices of motion. Well, I've been advised of no notice of motion at this section. 9.2, questions from councillors. I haven't been advised of any questions from councillors, but at this particular point, are there any councillors that wish to raise a question? Thank you, councillors. I take that no questions. Thank you. 9.3, urgent business. I haven't been advised of any urgent business at this stage. 9.4, any other business, councillors? I haven't been advised of any, but thank you, councillors. Well, having gone through that process, councillors, we come to section 10, which is meeting closed. So at 8:26, I would declare the meeting closed. I thank you for your attendance, and we will hope to see you all at the next council meeting on the in March. So thank you.